Breakfast is supposed to help you win the day, not wipe you out before it even starts. But walk into the wrong fast food spot at 8 a.m., and you might be eating something that was frozen last month, reheated in a hurry, and disguised with cheese and syrup to make you forget it tastes like regret. The signs look friendly, but the truth behind the counter is very scary. So today, we are exposing 10 breakfast chains that could ruin your morning before you even take the first bite. Stick around until the end, because one restaurant on this list has been caught serving breakfast ingredients that were reportedly held overnight on counters with no refrigeration. And millions of customers had no idea they were eating it first thing in the morning. Number 1, Burger King. Burger King might wear the breakfast crown in its ads, but behind the counter, it is cutting more corners than a rushed shortcut to work. Those croissantwiches and biscuit sandwiches come together faster than you can say drive-through. And that is because most of the ingredients arrived frozen long before you did. The eggs are not cracked fresh in store. They are pre-cooked in bulk at factories, sealed in plastic, and shipped across the country. When you place your order, they are microwaved into submission and slapped on a sandwich that is still trying to remember what real food tastes like. The meats are not much better. Burger King sausage patties are designed for survival, packed with preservatives so they can sit in storage longer than a gallon of milk. The bacon looks crispy in the commercials, but in reality, it is pre-cooked, reheated on a flat top, and often steamed soft in warming trays. And do not get fooled by the croissant bun. That buttery masterpiece from the TV ad is, in most stores, a frozen roll thawed under heat lamps that suck out every ounce of flakiness. Then there are the hash browns, tiny potato pucks that go from freezer to fryer to warming bin, where they sit until someone orders them. Crunchy? Sometimes. Fresh? Rarely. And that burnt aftertaste you notice halfway through the bag, that is the flavor of fryer oil that should have been changed yesterday. Number 2, Wendy's. Wendy's wants you to believe they are the new breakfast hero. They launched their morning menu with bold commercials and shiny croissant sandwiches that look like they came straight out of a cooking show. But behind the hype is a rush breakfast operation that depends heavily on shortcuts. Those eggs that look fluffy and fresh, they arrive frozen in bulk trays. When reheated, they turn into a soft, spongy square that feels more like whipped foam than anything that ever came out of a shell. The croissants themselves are not baked at Wendy's. They come pre-made, frozen, and then toasted or microwaved, depending on how busy the morning rush gets. The result is pastry that looks flaky on the outside, but feels soggy and chewy inside. And the seasoned potato wedges that replaced hash browns, they sound fancy, but they are just frozen fried potato chunks stored in warming bins. If you show up after the morning rush, those potatoes might have been sitting there long enough to trade crispiness for cardboard. Then there is the sausage. Wendy's morning meats are filled with sodium and preservatives so they can last longer in storage. One sandwich can push you close to your daily salt limit before you even pour your coffee. And speaking of coffee, Wendy's promises fresh brewed. But slow hours mean you might be sipping a burnt pot that has been sitting there long enough to develop a midlife crisis. Number 3, Taco Bell. Taco Bell might be the place you go when you want breakfast to feel exciting. Crunch wraps, breakfast burritos, hash brown layers, cheese in every direction. It sounds like a morning win until you learn how it is actually made. Most of Taco Bell's eggs do not start as eggs. They arrive as liquid mix inside cartons, cooked in bulk, and then held in warming trays until they find their way into a wrap. By the time they hit your mouth, the texture lands somewhere between scrambled eggs and wet foam. And those breakfast burritos that look stuffed with flavor, they owe most of their size to pre-shredded cheese and potatoes that come frozen in huge bags. The hash browns are fried in oil that has already seen more action than the late-night menu. Employees have complained that oil changes come second to speed, meaning every bite has hints of yesterday's tacos. It is like eating a mixtape of old grease. The meats, like sausage and bacon crumbles, are processed and heavily salted to stay shelf-stable through shipping and storage. Even the tortillas often arrive frozen, then microwaved to thaw before being toasted. So when you unwrap that crunch wrap and steam hits your face, you are smelling reheated convenience, not fresh ingredients. It might feel fun in the moment, but later your stomach remembers exactly how fast food breakfast is engineered. Number 4, Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen is famous for ice cream and burgers, not breakfast. But some locations do serve morning meals, and that is where trouble begins. Most of the items on their breakfast menu are just recycled versions of what they use for lunch. The eggs come from cartons. The pancakes come frozen, pre-shaped, and often microwaved instead of cooked on a griddle. Even the hash browns are dehydrated potato patties that get dropped into the same fryer used for chicken strips and fish sandwiches. And speaking of fryers, many Dairy Queen kitchens are short-staffed in the early hours. That means cleaning takes a back seat. Oil does not get changed as often as it should. Food gets rushed. Mistakes happen. In some stores, employees have reported sausage accidentally left out overnight and still being served the next morning. You would never see that from the dining room, but your stomach might notice later. The breakfast burritos loaded with processed meat and cheese can pass 700 calories without offering any real nutrition. Instead of fuel for your day, you are getting a slow-moving salt bomb wrapped in a tortilla. That first bite might taste decent, but the regret usually kicks in by the time you reach the parking lot. Number 5. Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box has one of the biggest breakfast menus in fast food, which sounds like a good thing until you realize what it takes to keep that many items ready to go at dawn. Almost everything behind the counter is pre-made and frozen. The burritos, the sandwiches, the pancake platters, they rely on ingredients that have been cooked in bulk at factories, vacuum sealed, and shipped out by the truckload. When you order, the microwave does most of the work. The eggs are either poured from liquid cartons or reheated patties that can go rubbery in seconds. The meats are packed with preservatives so they can sit in storage longer than they should. And the bread, whether it is a bun, biscuit, or croissant, often arrives frozen and gets reheated until it loses any charm it might have had at the bakery. Then there is the cleanliness problem. Jack in the Box has faced repeated scrutiny over health and safety standards. Several inspections over the years have cited expired products sitting in coolers and improperly cooked eggs served during the breakfast rush. When speed becomes the priority, food safety turns into an afterthought, and that is not a gamble you want to take when your first meal of the day is at stake. Number 6. Sonic Drive-In. Sonic Drive-In makes breakfast look like a party. Colorful ads, crispy tots, and sandwiches stacked high with cheese and bacon. But the excitement does not change what is actually happening behind the scenes. Most Sonic breakfast items rely on pre-made egg patties that are frozen, then reheated either on the flat top or, more often, in a microwave. The texture can swing from rubbery to mushy depending on how long they sit waiting for someone to order. The prep area at Sonic is extremely small, which creates a major cross-contamination risk. Raw ingredients, cooked foods, toppings, and cleaning chemicals often share the same surfaces. When a breakfast rush hits, gloves get ignored and sanitizing steps disappear. You can get a burrito that contains more fingerprints than protein, and those famous tots show up in almost everything. They are cooked in oil that has already handled chicken, onion rings, even corn dogs. When the oil is not changed regularly, every bite carries the taste of whatever was fried last night. If you order a breakfast burrito, expect a mix of reheated egg product, salty meat, and cheese that clumps into a gluey blob the moment it cools. Fun vibe or not, Sonic breakfast can turn your morning into a greasy science experiment. Number 7. McDonald's. McDonald's is the king of fast food breakfasts. Millions of people grab an Egg McMuffin on the way to work without thinking twice. But the system that makes everything so quick and consistent is built on heavy shortcuts. The scrambled eggs and folded eggs used in most sandwiches do not start from shells in the kitchen. They are cooked in bulk at central facilities, frozen, and shipped to stores in plastic bags. When breakfast starts, those bags are tossed onto heating trays or microwaved until they are soft enough to fold. The sausage patties and bacon strips follow the same routine. Pre-cooked, frozen, reheated. Efficiency first, freshness somewhere down the list. And the hash browns, the ones that seem crispy and golden, are fried in oil that gets reused through both breakfast and lunch. During slow periods, they can sit under heat lamps long enough to lose all life while still being handed out as if they were hot off the fryer. Even the healthy options come with traps. The oatmeal comes pre-mixed with cream and sweeteners, delivering more sugar than some candy bars. And fruit toppings stored in syrup do not scream fresh. They scream processed convenience. McDonald's breakfast is dependable, fast, and predictable. Just do not confuse that with quality. Number 8. KFC. KFC is not the first place that comes to mind when you think of breakfast. And honestly, that is probably a good thing. In the locations where they do serve breakfast, most of the items are built using the same ingredients they rely on all day long. And that is not a compliment. The biscuits are delivered frozen by the case, then reheated in ovens that are already packed with other products. Instead of fluffy layers, you often get dry dough held together by grease. Their grits and gravy, when offered, usually come from powdered mixes. Just add hot water, stir, and serve. That means breakfast can taste more like school cafeteria food than anything resembling Southern comfort. And the chicken used for morning sandwiches is not freshly fried for the early crowd. In many stores, staff simply take leftover pieces from the night before and hold them under heat lamps until they can be repurposed for breakfast. Soggy breading and dry meat are almost guaranteed. The biggest concern is cross-contamination. KFC kitchens are designed for fast movement of raw poultry, batter, and fryer baskets in tight spaces. When breakfast food gets tossed into that mix, gloves do not always get changed, and surfaces are not always cleaned first. One busy shift can turn a simple biscuit into a risky way to start your day. Number 9, Quiznos. Quiznos built its name on toasted subs, but breakfast is where things start to fall apart. Many locations that still serve breakfast rely on pre-assembled ingredients that are stored in coolers overnight, sometimes longer. The eggs usually arrive as liquid or frozen patties that get reheated on the same conveyor toaster used for sandwiches loaded with deli meats and sauces. That means your breakfast could inherit the flavors of last night's tuna melt. The bread is not baked fresh each morning either. It comes in frozen and gets thawed as needed. If the staff is busy or understaffed, those rolls can sit out too long, turning stale before they even hit the toaster. Then there is the cheese, pre-shredded and preserved to last far longer than anything from a grocery store dairy aisle. Because Quiznos has fewer customers in the morning, items can sit in warming trays or prep bins for extended periods. Former employees have reported using ingredients past their recommended times because throwing them away would cut into already thin profits. And since breakfast is not their focus, cleanliness standards during early hours are often rushed. When a restaurant treats breakfast like an afterthought, the food ends up tasting like one too. Number 10, Subway. Subway wants you to think fresh every time you walk in, but breakfast is where that slogan starts to look a little shaky. Most locations use pre-cooked egg patties or liquid eggs that are poured into molds, cooked in bulk, and then held in warming trays. By the time those eggs hit your sandwich, the texture can feel like damp foam instead of anything freshly cracked. And the bread, the star of Subway's image, is not actually baked from scratch in store. It arrives as frozen dough that is thawed and baked just enough to smell inviting, even if the inside ends up gummy and undercooked. Meat options like ham, bacon, or sausage are heavily processed and stored in plastic bins long before they reach the line. When mornings are slow, those same bins may sit open in the prep area, letting ingredients dry out until they need to be microwaved to revive them. And when the store is short-staffed, food safety shortcuts become tempting. Gloves get reused, knives slice raw veggies, then go straight into cutting reheated meat without a proper cleaning in between. Breakfast at Subway may look fresher than a drive-thru burger, but behind the scenes, it is still convenience first, quality later. And in the morning, your stomach can tell the difference. So that is 10 chains that could ruin your morning faster than a dead car battery. Different names, different menus, same strategy. If this video helped you avoid a bad breakfast, do us a favor. Tap like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling us which chain has given you your worst morning meal. We have plenty more truth to uncover, and we want you with us every step of the way.